Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you Tonight You Belong to Me. So if you're a Gen Xer or a millennial like me who's stuck in the past, you're going to know this tune from the movie The Jerk starring Steve Martin and Bernadette. Not that Bernadette, a different Bernadette. But in the movie, they have a really cute scene where they're doing this song as a duet, and she plays a cornet, which is similar to a trumpet. And that's why Katie jumped on board for the end of the tune to do the mouth kazoo. So she's playing the part that Bernadette played in the movie. But if you're younger and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to put a clip to the movie in the description box below so you can check it out and get caught up. A really, really cute, fun tune. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this lesson, which is the part 1, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire chord melody. Now what we've done for the part 2 lesson, we're going to be teaching you the solo, so the mouth kazoo. We actually transcribed that solo for the ukulele so you can learn it on the ukulele, and you're also going to learn the chords that are played behind the solo. So if you want to watch the part 2 lesson, you can click this link or go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Tonight You Belong to Me. Now on that page you'll also be able to get the tabs that you can print off and follow along with as a PDF format, as well as access the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time. You can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so a couple things I want to cover really quick before I hand it off to Matt to teach you. First off, this song has a swung rhythmic feel. So if you're new to understanding the difference between straight versus swung eighth notes, check out this lesson. I'm also going to put the link to it in the description box below. Secondly, this song has a triplet strum, so if you're new to doing that technique, I'm going to put a link in the description box below to a lesson that Jake Shimbukuro taught that's really, really awesome. But I'm also going to put a third link to a lesson where I explain what eighth note triplets are from a rhythmic standpoint. So really vital that you understand that when learning the technique. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this tune, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
Today we're going to work on a solo arrangement of Tonight You Belong to Me. The first thing that we'll need to know for this song is that it's in a swing feel. If you're not sure what that means, be sure and check out the video in the description below that goes into detail of what straight versus swing feel really is. Now to start the song, we're going to be needing to play a G chord with a triplet strum. So first let's play the G. Just take your index finger, place it here on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, and our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A. Now to do the triplet strum, a couple different ways to do it, but the way I like to do it for the song is going to start with your index finger going down. Now the trick is your index finger isn't a normal down strum because your thumb actually wants to be left up, above, ready to go down over the strings. So the index goes over, but we leave our thumb up here. The reason is that our very next motion is going to be the thumb going through, strumming all 4 strings. Then as you complete that motion, these 2 fingers are going to meet together, similar to if you're grabbing a business card or a guitar pick. And then you're going to make the 3rd motion of the triplet, which is coming up with the nail of the thumb. So we have down with our index, down with our thumb, and then up with our thumb. It takes some practice to get used to this, but it's really fun to do, and it works great to get that iconic sound for this intro. So we're going to start with one of those triplets on a G chord, and then we're going to do an immediate down strum. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, then down. And when I do this down, it's a normal down with my index, so you'll notice my whole hand moves. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1. And then I'm going to come up with my index finger, but I'm going to add the pinky finger here on the fretting hand to the 3rd fret of the A string. So leaving everything else where it is fretted, but adding that one finger. And then as I come up, it'll create this really cool suspended sound. And then I'm going to take off that pinky and do a down strum. And then to finish this measure, I'm going to take my thumb and just pluck the G string. If you're on a low G ukulele, you'll notice that's going to be a much lower note, in which case you can play 3 on the E. But for this tab, it's written for high G, and you'll just play that open G with that tuning. So the first measure sounds something like this. So if we try that together with a sort of swing feel that we're doing, it's 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now going right into the next measure, it's the same thing for the first few beats. We're going to start with the triplet strum on the G chord, down strum, and then come up with the pinky here on 3 on the A, then do our down strum with the pinky off, back to the G chord, and then instead of playing the open G to wrap up that measure, we're going to play 2 on the C, which starts the melody of the song. So measure 2 should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's the word I of I know. Going right into measure 3, we're going to switch how we play the G chord. Our index finger stays here at 2 on the C, but then we pivot our finger to bar across the C, E, and the A strings. Then we're going to add the middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E. We're going to strum our G, C, and E strings together with our thumb. Then we're going to add the pinky here on 5 of the A, and then take it off to play 2 on the A, hence that bar with the index finger. We'll then play 2 on the C, which is already there. Then we're going to take our hand off and play open on the E. So that measure is something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go into measure 4, we're going to go to a G7 chord. Now when we fret G7, we normally fret it like this, with our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, index here on the 1st fret of the E, and ring finger here on the 2 of the A. But I'd like to actually take the ring finger off the 2 on the A because I'm going to need it here in just a second. I'm going to play my G, C, and E strings together. Then I'm going to add that ring finger on 3 of the E. Then I'm going to play the open A. Then I'm going to add that ring finger back on 2 of the A. And then I'm going to take it off for open A. And then that 3rd fret on the E string with the ring finger again I will play. So measure 4 sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you can notice when I'm playing this, I'm making sure that I'm fretting the G7 with these 2 fingers the whole time, the index and middle fingers, but then the ring fingers making more of the movements to enunciate the voices. So now the first 4 bars when played together should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now going right into bar 5, we're going to start with a C chord, but we actually don't fret anything to start. We're going to leave it all open, play our G, C, and E strings together with the thumb. Then we're going to take our ring finger, add it on the 3rd fret of the E string, open on the A, middle finger here on fret 2 of the A, open A, 3 on the E, and then open E. So that measure sounds like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now going into 6, we're going to play this cool little C minor part. It's what I think gives this song some of its signature sound. To do this, I'm going to take my middle finger and place it on the 3rd fret of the C string. And I'm going to play the 0 on the G and the 3 on the C together. Now this is what's tricky. I'm going to take my ring finger and stack it in underneath the middle finger there on the 3rd fret of the E string. This tends to tilt your hand a little bit away from your shoulders, if you see, and your wrist kind of gets a little bit of a cock to it, and that's okay. You actually want this so that you can be fretting them at the same time, because the next note's going to be 3 on the E, which you play there with the ring finger, and then you're going to play the open A, and then the index finger is actually going to slide in there on fret 2 of the A to play, and then come back off. Then you play the 3 on the E, which is already there, and then the open A. Now the reason why we like doing this is I like to have that middle finger staying on the C string the whole time to continue resonating, because it's giving a sense of harmony with that C minor sound. That note right there is an E flat, which is really important to the C minor chord. So that measure sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we go to measure 7. We go back to our G chord, and we're going to play this G chord in our traditional way. So our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string doesn't actually have to move. We just need to move our middle finger down to 2 on the A, and our index finger here to 2 on the C. We're going to strum through that with our thumb. And then the next 2 beats, we're actually going to strum down strums with our index finger. And what I like to do is a little bit of staccato. And the way I achieve that sound is right after playing it, I raise the pressure off with my fretting hand so that the C, E, and A sort of stop ringing. So instead of it ringing through like this, it's more like this. See how I strike the strings, then mute them by bringing off the pressure. Still in that G chord shape though, the end of that measure is going to be 3 on the E and then 2 on the A, which is both part of that G chord. So now measure 7 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 8, we're going to go to a D7, and the way that we play this is actually pretty cool because if you look at your G chord, go and fret the G, then take the ring finger off, so you're left with just your index and middle fingers, and then move them both up 1 string. So they're staying in the same position on the same frets, but they're moving from the C and the A strings to the G and the E strings. That gives us our 2, 0, 2, 0 needed for this D7. Strum through it with our thumb. Then we're going to bring our pinky all the way up to 5 on the A. Now it's preferred that you hold the 2s on the G and the E strings if you're able to. If you find this to be a really big stretch, it's okay to have them off, but try to work on the flexibility of getting those fingers to stay put where they are. And then the very last part of this measure is going to be a 2 on the A, which we'll play with our middle finger, and we'll learn why on that in just a moment. So measure 8, something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And now if we play measures 5 through 8, they should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we go on to measure 9, and this is actually the first ending of this melody A section. So we're going to start it off the exact same way we did our first measure of the song. We're going to play the triplet strum on a G chord, and with the down strum, then on the up, add the pinky on 3 on the A, and then go back down without that pinky, and then just the open G. So that measure is exactly the same as measure 1. So it sounds like this at speed. 2 and 3 and 4 and... But measure 10 is quite a bit different. We're going to go to a different variation of the C minor chord. Go and take your index finger and bar it all the way across the 3rd fret of the C, E, and A strings, leaving the G open. And then add your ring finger here on the 5th fret of the A string. We're going to do a triplet strum over this chord, same exact way, and then when we go in the down strum that follows, we're actually going to take our ring finger off to leave 3 on the A along with the 3 on the C and the E. So that looks like this. And then we're going to come up and we're going to switch to a D7. And the way we play this D7 is we just take that bar that was there on the C, E, and the A. We're going to slide it down 1 fret and over all 4 strings. So it's on 2, 2, 2, 2. All the way across, and then add our middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. That creates the D7, which we do a down strum for. And then the very last note of this is at just 2 on the C, which brings us right back into everything. So measures 9 and 10, to sum up the first ending of the A section, should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now from here we go right back to the beginning of the song where the melody begins, which is actually at measure 3. So when we do that last part of 10, we go back to 3. Go all the way through this. That brings us to 8. Now instead of going to 9, we actually go to the second ending, which is going to be on measure 11. And in this case, we're going to play pretty much the same thing. We're going to start with our G chord, the exact same little riff that we did on measure 1 as well as on measure 9. So the G chord, adding the 3 on the A with the triplet, all that good stuff. So in time, that's 2 and 3 and 4 and... But then it goes to a new section here on 12, and I really like this part because it's going to go to the G chord, and we're going to play it with our 3 fingers, so index here on the 2nd fret of the C, ring here on the 3rd fret of the E, and middle here on the 2nd of the A. Strum through all 4 with our thumb, add the pinky on 3 of the A and play that by itself, and then we're going to slide up to 5 on the A with our pinky, so we have... And then we're going to take our index finger, slide it all the way across the 5th fret of all 4 strings in a bar, strum through all 4 strings. We're going to add our ring finger here on 7 of the A, and then our pinky here on 8 on the A. And then to finish that, we're going to play the open G. So that measure, measure 12, sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now this is the conclusion of the first melody section, and from here we're going to go into the B melody section. So that you can hear the whole melody section, I'm going to play it through. So I'm going to start at measure 1, and I'm going to go all the way through, including the repeat. It should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now right here we go into measure 13, which is melody B. We're going to start with a C minor chord, and the way that we play this is we're going to bar across the 3rd fret of the C, E, and A strings with our index finger. We're going to play just the 3 on the E string to start, and then we're going to strum through with our index finger twice and do that little staccato sound. So again, the way that we get that is have the finger compressed as we play, and then when we're done playing, we bring the finger off to get that little bit of a muted sound. So 3 on the E first, and then down, down in the staccato. Then we're going to play 3 on the C, then 5 on the C with our ring finger here. So that measure sounds like this, 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into 14, we're going to play the 3 on the E again, followed by 2 down strums, same way. Exactly the same start there. Then we're going to just add our ring finger here on 5 of the E string. Again, still holding the index finger across all the other strings, the C and the A. Play that for the 4th beat there. So measure 14 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we go to 15, and what's neat about 15 is it's actually exactly the same as 13. So we're going to play through measure 15 in the same way. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then as we go 16, it's the same as 14. So it's essentially just repeating here. So play the 3 on the E, followed by 2 down strums, and then we're going to play the 3 on the C. And so that very last note at the end of 16 is the only variation that occurs. So when we start here with that C minor shape, we're holding it through all 4 of these bars, and then at measure 16 we finish by just playing the 3 on the C string by itself. So measure 16 sounds like this in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and... And here's 13 through 16 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 17, we're going to go to a G chord, but the way that we want to do this is using this bar that we already had set up on across 3. We're just going to slide it down to 2 and then take our middle finger and add it here on the 3rd fret of the E string, creating a G chord. We'll play the 2 on the C by itself to start, and then we're going to strum through the whole chord twice with our index, using that same little staccato effect of muting the strings. And then we're going to play 2 on the C, and then open C. So we just take that bar off. So measure 17 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and then going right into 18, it's going to go to an A7 chord. All that we do is take our hand off, place our index finger on the 1st fret of the C string, play that by itself, and then we're going to strum that chord twice, using the same staccato effect. Now, with an A7 chord, we don't get much of that staccato, right? Because it's just one finger that's coming on and off the strings. So a little trick that you can do is after you play that A7, if you want the notes to stop ringing, you can take these free fingers here, your middle, ring, and pinky fingers, and just lightly touch the strings to make that muted sound. So we can do our down strum, and then bring the fingers on and do it again. And then the very last beat of that measure is just the 1 on the C by itself. So 18 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 19, we're going to open that C string up and play the open C. And then we're going to play a D7 chord in the way that we did towards the beginning of the song. So our index finger here on the 2nd fret of the G string and our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the E string. We're going to do 3 strums on this to complete measure 19, doing that same sort of staccato effect. And if you'd like, you can take your ring and pinky fingers and actually mute the strings as well, just like we did with the A7. So that's something like this for 19. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, jumping right into 20, we start with another down strum on that D7. So no movement here with our fretting hand. And then we play this little melodic line. That's going to start with the open A, and then 2 on the A. And I like to use my index finger here on 2 of the A. And the reason is because the next note that I play is 5 on the A with my pinky finger. And then I play the 2 on the A again. So measure 20 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So measure 17 through 20 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Playing through the whole B section, in time it should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now at this point, we go right back into melody A for that 3rd time through. So measure 21 is really the same as measure 3 in the other parts that we've played earlier. So we go ahead and look right at 21, we play through the same exact parts. So that going all the way through 26 is exactly identical to what we played earlier, which is quite nice. Then as we get to 27, it has a little bit of a change, right? So on 27, we're going to play the 3 on the E, and we can play our ring finger there on the 3rd fret of the E string. And then we're going to take our middle finger, play it on 2 of the A. Then we're going to play 1 on the A, and then 2 on the A again, just using our middle and index fingers going back and forth. Then a ring finger here on 3 of the E, then the open A. And then to actually finish the song here, we're going to play just the 2 on the C and the 3 on the E together. So we essentially play a G chord in this way here with the index barred, or in this way here. It doesn't really matter because we're only going to be playing the C and E together to finish that song and that sound. So that ending part, measure 27 into 28, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And that wraps up the solo arrangement of this song.
Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this tune. A really cute melody. It also has the triplet strum, so a really fun technique to work on and to implement into your playing. Now, I do want to remind you that if you do want to learn the solo, we actually transcribed the kazoo solo that Katie did. So if you want to learn how to play that on the ukulele, as well as the chords that are played underneath the solo, that's what Matt's going to be teaching you in the part 2 lesson. So you can check out that lesson at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Tonight You Belong to Me. Don't forget that the tabs are on that page, as well as the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer where you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down. A really great asset for working on these tunes. All right guys, so again, I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the part 2 lesson. Take care.